Grace and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. So the story goes, and it's a true story, mind you, about a doctor who worked in a nursing home. What this doctor did is he persuaded the management of that nursing home to bring in all sorts of animals. Dogs, cats, parakeets, a colony of rabbits, and even some egg-laying hens, to bring in all these animals to let the residents care for them. So how do you think this experiment went? What do you think happened? The results actually were remarkable. It was reported that the residents began, in a sense, to wake up and to come back to life. People who the staff had thought were unable to speak started speaking. People who had been totally withdrawn started going to the nurse's desk to say, "Can I take the dog for a walk?" All the parakeets, they were adopted and given names by the residents. And on top of all this, their use of medication to control things like agitation dropped to 38% of the previous level. So why the big change? Why did all this happen? Well, the doctor who pushed all this concluded by saying, "I believe the difference in all this can be traced to the fundamental human need for a reason to live." The fundamental need for a reason to live, that's purpose, isn't it? With having a purpose comes also having a meaning. Meaning is feeling that you're serving some kind of a good beyond yourself. So if people say that their lives lack purpose or that their lives lack meaning, that doesn't mean they don't have a good life. It doesn't mean they don't have an enjoyable life. What it means is they're not sure why. They're not sure why they're doing everything, and they're not sure that what they're doing actually matters or actually makes a difference. Well, in today's sermon text, Jesus gives us an antidote to these kind of concerns, because Jesus declares to us that every person who is a Christian, every person who believes in Him, has a purpose in life that nothing in this world can take away. Jesus talks about it in Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Now, as we dig in here, what we see is that in this section there are two "you are" statements that Jesus makes. He says, "You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of that world." And within these two statements lies that purpose. The reason that we're here, we are here to be salt and light for the whole world. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's what we're going to see as we take a closer look. You see, salt in the ancient world had many uses, but its most common use was as a preservative. Now, they didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have freezers, so the only way they could slow down meat from decaying was to put salt on it. And that salt actually slowed down and hindered the spread of bacteria throughout all of that meat. And so what Jesus is saying, calling us salt, is that our purpose as His people is to be a preservative for the world, so to speak. Well, how does that happen? The way that the Bible speaks is that the mere existence of God's people, the mere existence of Christians in the world, has a way of hindering evil, has a way of slowing evil. That there's an inverse relationship between the number of Christians in the world and the progression of evil. You know, the fewer Christians in the world, the more evil that exists. And perhaps the greatest example of this found in the Bible is the account of Noah and the flood. That account is opened by a simple description of what's going on in the world. It says, "Now the earth was corrupt and full of violence." Why was it corrupt and full of violence? Because of the whole world there were only 6 people. 6 people who trusted in God and sought to live according to His will. And that's why the world was as bad as it was. And so what Jesus tells us is that as His people, you are the salt of the earth. So it's your purpose then to slow the world's descent into evil and into wickedness. Now, light, on the other hand, light's purpose hasn't really changed at all throughout all of history. Light's purpose has always been to drive out darkness. Light's purpose has always been to help people see things as they really are. And so Jesus says to us, you are the light of the world. So then it's your purpose to drive out darkness, to drive out the darkness of sin, the darkness of unbelief, and to let people see things as they really are. That is, to let people see things with God at the center of it all. And that's what Jesus is getting at when he urges us, saying, let your light shine before others so that they see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. What he's saying is, you've been given this special knowledge of God. You've been given trust in him. So let it show. Let it shine. Let it out. Let that knowledge and trust that you have in God show in the things that you say and in the things that you do. So then how do we go about doing these two things? How do we go about being salt, slowing the decay of the world? How do we go about being light, letting people see things as they really are, and knowing God's at the center? Well, there's a deed aspect to it, and there's a word aspect to it. In our deeds, we are to live, as Jesus says, lives that are marked with good deeds. Or as we heard in our lesson from 1 Peter, he said, live such good lives. The picture here is to live lives that are so good that they're noticed. So good that they stand out from other people. In other words, we're not just called to be good husbands, good wives. We're called to be exceptional husbands and wives. We're not just called to be nice neighbors and friends, but we're called to be remarkable neighbors and remarkable friends to each other. Called to be remarkable in the way that we treat other people. Now, in a society whose values were and are historically greatly shaped by Christian values, you find a lot of people who do good. You find a lot of people who are good husbands and wives. You find a lot of people who help others in need. You find a lot of people who support their neighbors and who support their community. So the question for us then is, how can we stand out? How can we stand out in a good way? And I would say that there are several ways, several areas where the Christian ethic runs contrary to our societal norm. Now, the first of these that I noticed was the concept of generosity. It's true that Americans give away more money than other people in the world, but yet it's not because we give away so much. It has to do more with the other nations giving away so little. In 2015, Americans gave away to charities in general, so not just churches, charities in general, it accounted for just over 2% of our total annual income as a country. What if we as Christians gave away more? What if we gave away more to food banks, to humanitarian aid, to community relief and assistance, and to our churches, and even just to people that we know who are in need? What if we did that? We'd certainly stand out. And we'd be a blessing to the people around us. A second way that the Christian ethic runs against our societal norms is how we use sex. Our society regards sexual relations, on one hand we kind of idolize it, but on the other hand we have a low view of it. We kind of regard it as a commodity to be exchanged, or an appetite to be filled, like I'm hungry and thirsty, I desire to do this. But the Bible doesn't speak of it that way. Instead it speaks of it very highly as a precious gift. A precious gift to be shared between a husband and a wife, a gift where those two people, a husband and wife, are sharing themselves with each other and expressing this close relationship that they have with each other. And in that close relationship, God designed it to be an expression, a close expression of committed love, and an act of committed love between a husband and wife. If we regarded it that way, we would certainly stand. A final way that comes to my mind has to do with the way that we speak. And in particular, the way that we speak about those who hold different positions than we do. Looking around our world, looking around our country today, and seemingly everyone's mad about something, right? We got people who are mad about President Trump. We got people who are mad at the people who are mad at President Trump. Now, I'm not saying that neither side of that has legitimate gripe. I'm sure they both do. But it's more just an observation that we are always mad at something, and Trump just happens to be the latest thing that we're mad about. Well, what if we as Christians were different than that? What if we weren't so publicly outraged about everything all the time like the rest of our society is? What if instead we genuinely tried to listen to the other side? No matter what the topic was, politics, race, jobs, environment, all those things, instead of just getting mad and walking away. What if we could have conversations about these hot-button issues without descending into insults and straw men type arguments? What if we just tried to understand each other because we saw that all people, no matter who they are worth listening to, even if in the end we're still going to disagree? What if we did that? We would certainly stand out. Now, there probably are many others that we could come up with. These are just three that come to my mind. They're examples of deeds that let our light shine. But if this light is to reveal who God is and what He's done, deeds aren't enough. Words are necessary too. And so if you live a life that is remarkably good, you're going to get asked why you do that. And then when you get asked, you can say, well, I'm generous toward people who are in need because I believe in a God who was infinitely generous toward me when I was in need. I'm sexually pure because I believe in a God who was utterly faithful to me, and because of that, I want to be utterly faithful to my spouse, whether I'm currently married to that person or someday hoping to be married. Or we can say I try to walk in other people's shoes because I believe in a God who came from heaven to earth so that he could walk in my shoes. You see, every one of those statements leads to an opportunity to say exactly what God has done for us in Jesus Christ. You see, words and deeds go together. Words without deeds won't be listened to. Deeds without words are powerless to bring a person to glorify God our Father in heaven. But when words and deeds work together, that's when people are led to glorify God because they come to know him as he really is. And that's when the world's decay is slowed. So how do we let our light shine? We love other people, and we share the gospel with them. But the real question here becomes, how much do we really want to stand out? Or do we want to stand out? Do we want to be different in a good way? Or would we rather just blend in? See, many times, instead of seeking to be extraordinary in our words and speech, seeking to be extraordinary in the way that we deal with other people, we settle for ordinary, fitting in, doing the same things that the rest of everyone else around us does. And Jesus has a couple of phrases for us in this section for when we think about wanting to blend in and be like everyone else. He says, if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. And then later on he says, neither do we light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Now the point there is, what do we call salt that doesn't salt anything? I don't know, dirt, sand, right? What do you do with dirt? You throw it out of the house. What do we call a light that's under a bowl? I don't know, a waste of energy? And the point is that when we don't seek to stand out, when we don't seek to be exemplary, when we don't seek to stand out for doing good, we're being like salt that isn't salty. We're being like light that's under a bowl. We're not living on the purpose that Jesus has given us, and that's sinful. But the remarkable thing is, no matter our failures and sins, that doesn't change the fact that we're salt and light. And it doesn't stop us from being salt and light in the world. I'd like you to look again at the way Jesus speaks about it. He says, you are salt, you are light. So that it's not, he doesn't speak about it as something that we achieve or something that we earn. Rather, it's something that he says to us. It's something that he declares about us. It's a status that he gives us. It's a role that he gives us. So then what this says is we don't get to be salt by being good people. We don't get to be light because we're so bold and so effective at telling other people what Jesus has done. No, if it relied on how good we were and how effective we were, we'd be like that dirt tossed out on the path. Jesus doesn't say that we earn it. He says that we are salt and that we are light. That we are salt and light because that's what he is giving us. So then your status as salt and light, it doesn't depend on your own performance. Instead, it depends on Jesus' performance, his perfect performance. See, Jesus lived every moment of his life perfectly, start to finish. Every moment salt, every moment light. He revealed God's character in the things that he did and the things that he said. And yet, what did he do? He died. He died on a cross under all of your sin, all of your shame, and all of mine. But because of this, God declares you and I to be perfect. He declares us to be fully acceptable and accepted in his sight. And on top of that, he gives you a privilege and a purpose. To be salt and light in the world. That is to be his agents of blessing in this world. To reveal God's character, to reveal God's works to the people around you, to the people who he places in you. I'd like you to think for a minute about the moon. At nighttime, the moon gives us light, but how does it do it? The moon has no light of its own. So the moon can only give light to the degree that it receives light and reflects that light from the sun. And that's all it can do. It can only reflect. And in a sense, that's how we function as light for the world. It isn't our light that we shine, but it's God's light shining on us. And it's God's light shining on us that we reflect. And the only way that we can shine is because God's first caused his light to shine on us. And so when we let our light shine, we're doing nothing other than reflecting what God has already done for us, reflecting his character, reflecting the way that he has treated us in the way that we deal with others. So think about what a purpose that is. Purpose is having a reason for living, a reason for existing. Being salt and light is a purpose that we can never outgrow. It's a purpose that we can never leave behind. It's a purpose that can never be taken away from us. Think about it. The second grader can be salt and light in his classroom and on the playground. The construction worker can be salt and light on the job site or at home. The business owner can be salt and light in whatever they do. The retiree can be salt and light. The person in a nursing home can be salt and light to the people there. Those with children or without children can be salt and light in their circles of influence. Same for single people, married people. You can be salt and light as well. And the same for men, women, doesn't matter. Salt and light, no matter where God has put us in this life. He's put us there with a purpose, to reflect His character to those around us, so that other people come to know Him and glorify Him. And if you want to think about meaning in life, accomplishing something that makes a difference, I don't think you can find a greater meaning than this. I don't think you can find something that makes a greater difference than being salt and light, because you're not just changing people's lives. When you're salt and light to the people around you, you're actually working to change their eternity. It doesn't get more meaningful than that, does it? And so Jesus has given us this new purpose. We're no longer here in this world for ourselves. We're here to be salt and light. We're here to make God known in the world around us by our words and by our actions. And we're here that as we do that, to help restrain evil in the world so that more people have time to come to know God and come to believe Him. So yes, friends, you have a purpose. It's to be salt and light in this world so that other people can come to know God and join us in glorifying Him.